All right, thank you. Everybody, please go ahead and take your seats if you can. I'd like to welcome everybody to the May 16th, 2019 Forsyth County Board of Commissioners regular meeting and public hearings. This time I'd like to call us to order at 5:06, just under the wire, p.m. this evening. We're going to begin with an invocation and pledge. I know I just had you sit down, but everybody who's able, please stand with us. And Commissioner Dennis Brown is going to lead us in the invocation, and we'll have some special guests here to help us with the pledge.
Please bow your heads and pray with me. Gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight to do the people's business, Lord. Thank you for all of our wonderful public servants, for all the policemen, the firemen, everyone that does business in the county, Lord. We thank you for all of your many blessings for this wonderful community. Be with these public officials tonight as we make momentous decisions that affect everyone in the county. Lord, help us to make the right decision, put aside any petty differences, that we do what is best in the best interest for everyone. We ask these things in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen.
And who's going to lead us in the pledge?
I'd like to ask Cole to come forward, and we have some Cub Scouts if you'd like to come and support and help us with the pledge this evening. Come on.
Well, just step up to the
right
podium.
Up to the podium.
Yep.
Whenever you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. And Dennis, can you remind me which den and pack we have with us this evening?
You know,
Want to tell us? Who are you? Oh, that is pack 8307. And what's your den number? 3. Thanks for joining us tonight, guys. All right. So I'd like to ask the commissioners if there are any changes to the agenda this evening. I'll start with Commissioner Levent.
Yes, Madam Chair, I have one. It's on new business 1C. I have a letter from representing counsel, and they are asking on the behalf of their client for withdrawal without prejudice. And that is my motion.
Thank you. And that is item 1C under new business to be withdrawn without prejudice. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0. Commissioner Levent, do you have any other changes this evening?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cooper, do you have any changes to the agenda this evening?
Madam Chairman, I do not.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown, do you have any changes this evening?
Madam Chair, I have one. I'd like to, on behalf of the client, request to postpone old business 2 Nancy Bentley until June 20th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to postpone item old business number 2 to June the 20th. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0. Commissioner Mills, do you have any changes this evening?
Thank you.
Thank you. And I actually have one item myself. I'd like to make a motion that old business number 3 be postponed also until June 20th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0. Thank you very much. Moving on to the county manager. Eric Johnson, do you have any changes to the agenda this evening?
Madam Chair, I do not.
Thank you. Tim Merritt, Deputy County Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do not have any changes.
Thank you very much. Counselor.
Madam Chair, I have 2 proposed changes. The first of them is the first item following executive session, which is the tolling agreement. I would respectfully request that that be withdrawn from the agenda. There is no need for that item to be considered this evening.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0 for removal from the agenda.
Madam Chair, the only other issue I had or question was actually, and it may be to Commissioner Cooper, does the commissioner want to consider removing consent agenda item 6 O, which was the county-initiated rezoning. I think there may have been an application that's been applied for. You don't have to. We can still approve that this evening if you need to, but I wanted to remind you of it if you wanted to consider that. I think there was an email earlier today that the applicant, I think the owner, has come in to pull a permit and didn't know if you wanted to move forward. Perfectly fine if you do on that.
You said that the applicant has come in?
They did. They did come in and filed an application for some sort of a land disturbance permit, which I think may have been sort of the catalyst for even this in the first
It
place.
was, yeah, so let's pull it, sure.
All right, so
Thank you.
that would require a motion and a second, and
I-
then that would go to new business, where we can at least discuss it and put it
I
into it.
move that we pull as stated.
What number is it?
Forgive me, Madam Chair,
It's under consent agenda. It is
6-0.
six letter O, not zero.
I move
All
that
it
we pull a
needs is a
consent
motion and a
agenda,
second.
6 letter O.
Second.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second.
Okay, let's
Please
go.
vote.
Thank you.
No, that's fine.
Commissioner Levent, thank you.
And that just means it's no longer county-initiated.
Well, it means that
Well-
we've removed it from consent. We're going to discuss whether it will continue as county initiator or we'll
At
withdraw
the
that.
next work session, okay.
Thank you. No, we've moved it to new business this
I
evening.
got you.
Thank you. Are there any other changes, Counselor?
Right. Madam Chair, only for an announcement on public hearing 5. That public hearing is advertised this evening, but I think the chair will note there is a notice in that that's pursuant to the ZPL. We actually had to move that one to June 6th, so I just report that to the chair for the gallery to hear as well, Madam Chair.
Thank you. What do you advise we do? Leave it, just punt it again when we get to that item? Or
That's exactly, that's my recommendation. When we get
Okay.
there, we will simply acknowledge it and then move on.
Thank you. Are there any other changes from anyone at this point? Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0 as amended. Well, we have a couple of announcements this evening, and we got a little preview of one of them. Commissioner Levent is going to present a recognition for the achievement of Eagle Scout rank to Cole Rainey Brockman.
Cole Rainey Brockman, would you mind stepping up to the podium, please? To Cole Rainey Brockman, his fellow scouts, scoutmasters, and all leaders of Troop 254 and Northeast Georgia Council, Etowah District of the Boy Scouts of America, and all persons to whom present shall come. Greetings. Whereas Cole Rainey Brockman is a resident of Forsyth County and a junior at West Forsyth High School. And whereas his Eagle Scout project, Cole Rainey Brockman installed irrigation system at the Liberty Middle School greenhouse. This allowed the agricultural science teacher to set timers and watering selectively, consistently watering the 10 different grow boxes, which will increase crop production and help supply vegetables to the school lunchroom and local food shelters. And whereas, in conformity with the requirements to obtain the rank of Eagle Scout in the Boy Scouts of America, as determined by the Eagle Scout Board of Review, Cole Rainey Brockman has been found worthy of promotion to rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas in honor of his achievement, an Eagle Scout Court of Honor will be held on May 21st, 2019 at Bethelview United Methodist Church to officially bestow upon Cole Rainey Brockman the rank of Eagle Scout. Now therefore be it, and it is hereby resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Forsyth County, Georgia, in recognition of the honor bestowed on Cole Rainey Brockman, and by the way, we say that a bunch of times here, but always remember your name, does hereby express its pride in its earning the rank of Eagle Scout in the Boy Scouts of America and best wishes for the future. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be recorded in the official minute book of the Board of Commissioners and that a copy of same be presented to Cole Rainey Brockman. As testimony whereof, we have hereunto affixed the seal of the County of Forsyth, State of Georgia, and signatures of the members of the governing body hereon, given at Cumming, Georgia, on the 16th day of May, 2019.
Thank you.
right, here we go.
It's always great to see young people already taking the reins of leadership in our community, and what a great role model, guys. I'm glad you got here. We're here to see it tonight. I love seeing kids involved in scouting and being a part of this community in a very involved way. Number 2, we have another recognition. Actually, if we would have Chief Jason Shivers come forward, we're going to announce a winner for our poster tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, good evening. Thank you so much for a few minutes of your time this evening. Again, I'm Division Chief Jason Shivers with the Forsyth County Fire Department. Tonight, we're recognizing our 2019 Fire Safety Poster Contest winners. This is an annual event. This is our 8th annual this year. It's open to all area 3rd graders to participate in our Fire Safety Poster Contest, where they choose from a series of categories and put what they've learned about fire safety onto a piece of art. It's always a great time for them to participate in, for us to judge in. And this year, like always, we're recognizing 3 winners and 3 runners-up. Now, as of a few minutes ago, we had a couple that still weren't able to be with us this evening, so I'll go through everyone's name. If they're here, they'll step forward. The ladies with the Community Risk Reduction Team are here to assist me tonight. Let's hold applause till we've got everyone down here, please, just to conserve some time. Our first winner, Sasha Byron of Days Creek Elementary, Stay Low and Go category. I believe she's still not here, okay. Seth Landers from Whitlow Elementary won in the 2 Ways Out category. Congratulations, Seth. Kyle Subramanian from Days Creek Elementary won in the Firefighters Are Our Friends category.
Oh my goodness, they're so cute.
And then in our runners-up category, Gretchen Crute from Midway Elementary won for Stay Low and Go. Neil Camara from Kelly Mill Elementary won in 2 Ways Out. And I don't think Neil is here either, correct? Okay. And Angela Petapali from Days Creek Elementary won for runner-up in our Firefighters Are Our Friends category. All right, congratulations, guys.
Sasha, come on forward. I think another one of our winners has entered the room. I'm guessing it's Sasha. Yes. Go ahead and grab your poster. Sasha from Dates Creek.
All right, well, so here's our winner for the Stay Low and Go category, Sasha Byron. Is that how I pronounce that right? Sasha Byron from Days Creek Elementary for Stay Low and Go. Glad you made it. Thank you for being here. Good.
If y'all can hang tight, I think I'm going to ask the commissioners to come in a little tighter. And if y'all can squeeze in a little tighter, we can get some pictures for our social media. Don't hide that beautiful artwork. I can't wait to see it because I got the back side of it up here.
Can you
Congratulations.
We want to turn the art around. We want to see it. Oh, wow.
look at that? What a group of
That's
artists.
amazing.
Fantastic.
Great job.
So proud of you guys.
Good job.
Thank you.
Well done.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We do have another award presentation this evening. If the county manager will come forward. We have a retiring employee.
Commissioners, as you well know, the county appreciates our employees and the outstanding services they provide. And tonight, we're pleased to recognize a county employee who will be retiring soon. I'd like to ask Patricia Ponder to come forward and also John Kennard. And I think we have maybe an unusual event. I'd like all of the staff from the engineering department to stand up because I think we have an unusual level of support here to help Patricia on her way, or maybe encourage her to stay for the rest of the month. Patricia, I'm going to just hand off this, and then I'd like John to follow some remarks. John, you want to come up? So this actually has her real first name, but we know her as Patricia. But Patricia serves as the administrative supervisor with the engineering department. She's been with us for 29 years. She retires at the end of this month. And I know that that everybody here is already panicking over what life will be like after she retires. But then again, as I was looking for a house in this community, I drove with Matthew Ledbetter past her house, and I now understand why she might be looking forward to the opportunity to retire just before summer, because I believe they have a brand new swimming pool in their backyard. So, John?
Thank you. For those of you that don't know Patricia like we do, words just can't express. But she's a great person and has one of the best attitudes of anybody you'll ever meet. And we love her so much. We're going to miss her.
Thank you, John. Come here. I'd like to say it has truly been it has been a blessing and an honor. Thank you to the commissioners, but I have thoroughly enjoyed working with these two men here. I've worked with them the majority of these 29 years. And I have just, like I said, I have been so blessed. I am truly going to miss working for the county. This is a great county to work for, great county to live in. And I love these two. And I love this department. And I love all the people that I have worked with now and in the past. It's a great department to work for. I'm going to miss you, and I'm going to miss working here. I really am.
We're going to miss you.
Thank you very much.
More than we can say.
She's going to be hard to replace.
Yep.
But
We have to try.
you know, she's been great for the county. She's a tremendous asset, and you know, people describe her as a real go-getter. You know, she's the go-to person in our department, and she's the glue that holds us together.
We got a lot of good people.
We do have a lot of good people, but we appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you.
Rolls them down.
If the engineering team would like to come forward for the picture.
If the whole department would come down. Everybody in
Don't
the
be shy.
engineer department, will y'all come down for your photo? And your support, please? Come on down, everybody's got to get your photo taken. There we go.
Patricia, let's put you right in the center.
Now we can move along. La, 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 la.
I raised 3 children, I know how to do anything.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's perfect. Captain Boss is a good name. It could be a lot worse.
Get skinny.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your dedication and work.
Hope if you get bored, you know where we are. That's what they all do. Thank you. You don't have many people that serve for 29 years, almost 3 decades. All right, everyone. I'm going to give y'all a minute to go ahead and filter out. It came with it. Cool. Otherwise, pretty casual, though. Hairy legs. I know. Nobody wants to stay for the rest of this riveting program.
Told you to have popcorn, they stay longer.
All right, as the last few people are working their way out, I'm going to ask Karen to read the rules of the meeting and announce the public comment speakers as we move to that section of our agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the board. I'd like to take a moment to review the meeting procedures. We ask that everyone silence your cell phones and electronic devices. Those who wish to speak during public comments should complete a public comment form that is available just outside this room. Information regarding specific requirements to address the board is listed at the podium. Please state that information prior to speaking. All comments should be directed to the entire board and not to a particular commissioner. There are 2 public comment opportunities during the meeting for speakers to make a verbal presentation to the board, one now and one prior to old business. The number of speakers is limited to 10 now and 10 at the second portion. Speakers are selected on a first-come basis and will be heard in the order in which they signed up, with the exception that Forsyth County residents are heard first, with non-county residents to follow until the allotted time has expired. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. We have 1 public comment speaker signed up for the first portion this evening. They are a Gwinnett resident, Mr. Ben Morgan.
Greetings, Commissioners. I'm here tonight to address...
Real quick, we have to have you actually restate your name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And where you live.
They said it was here, but I didn't see anything. So Benjamin Morgan, I'm from Gwinnett County. I am a proud business owner in Gwinnett County that operates through door-to-door solicitation in all counties around the Metroplex. That's what brought me to your, comment tonight regarding some proposed reclassification of the solicitation ordinance. I am available. I emailed all of you yesterday, and you may have seen that, you may not have. But I'm able to meet with any one of you individually to try to come up with a proposal that will work. But I'm here at the behest of my entire industry to urge you not to go down the path of illegally enforcing restrictions on free speech, commercial free speech, as those should be protected for everyone, including business owners, including door-to-door solicitors. Many people ask me why I chose to go start a door-to-door company. It started for me with scouting. I learned a lot of those hard-working skills as a young scout. Started my first business at 9 years old doing lawns. And I've always done door-to-door. So from childhood through that, started more of like an aeration company in high school, started doing Christmas lights in college when I wasn't going to school, and then started selling pest control during the summers. And so my career took me down a path of going door to door and learning respectable, quality communication through a door-to-door solicitation. In the email that was sent yesterday, there's plenty of case law to support the stance that a broad scope non-solicitation sign in front of a community cannot be enforceable. It restricts the rights of those inside the community that want to hear free speech, and it does not address those that, if there's a private property owner inside of a community, all they need to do is put a no soliciting sign on their door, and that's the only enforcement that's legally allowed. There's plenty of case law to back that up. There's plenty of counties who've gone down the road of trying to enforce and hear complaints from their citizens, and I get that you guys are doing your job. My brother's a police officer. He does his job and enforces the laws, whether they're legal or not. And I'm here to try to help all of you understand that there are ways to have legal enforcement and legal accountability. But if you adopt a broad sign at the front of a neighborhood as a restriction, you are infringing upon the free speech of commercial free speech. The right of freedom of speech and press has a broad scope. The authors of the First Amendment chose to encourage a freedom that they believed essential. This freedom embraces the right to distribute information and necessarily protects the right to receive it. The privilege may not be withdrawn, even if it creates a minor nuisance for a community. And that's Schneider v. State 308 U.S. 147 and 308 U.S. 162. In a series of decisions, the U.S. Supreme Court and 5 federal courts have upheld that enforcements of ordinances that unreasonably restrict commercial speech are unconstitutional.
Thank you.
You bet.
If anyone else would like to address the board at this time, please come forward. I see none, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We'll move on now to the adoption of our minutes. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting and public hearings of May 2nd, 2019?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That motion carries with a vote of 5-0. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes of the special called meeting of May 6, 2019?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote again. And that also clears 5-0. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes of the work session and executive session of May 7th, 2019?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And some of you have. There we go. And again, it passes 5-0. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And that passes as amended. And we will be hearing that one item later in the evening. All right. That takes us to our public hearings. And once again, I'm going to ask for Karen to read the rules of engagement for public hearings.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. For the public hearings portion of the meeting, each side, those in opposition and those in support, are allotted 10 minutes to speak. Those who wish to speak should complete a public hearing form available just outside the room. Please fill out both sides and submit your form to the clerk when approaching the podium to speak. If there is more than one speaker for each side, the available time will be divided among the speakers, and we will provide a verbal reminder when the speaker has 30 seconds remaining.
Thank you, Karen. I'd like to ask Amy Conrath to please give us a outline for public hearing number 1.
AL 190814. This is located in Commission District Number 2. This is a request for approval of an alcohol license for CT Taqueria and Cantina, Inc., doing business as CT Cantina and Taqueria. Named licensee is Ricardo Jamie for an application to sell malt beverages, wine, and distilled spirits for consumption on the premises at their place of business located at 6220 Town Square.
Thank you. Ken, do you want to give us some additional color on this item before we open the public hearing?
I'd prefer to do that after the public hearing, Madam Chair, but I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote. Our public hearing is now open with a vote of 5-0. If there is anyone who is here to speak in favor of this application, please come forward at this time.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
You guys give us your name and...
My name is Ricardo Jaime. I'm the licensee for this business application, alcohol application.
And you're obviously speaking in favor.
I'm in favor.
If you want to hold tight for just a second, I'm sure that we may have some questions for you. I'm going to see if anyone else would like to speak. Is there anyone else who's here to speak in favor of this application? Sure, come on forward.
My name is Celeste Jaime, and I am Ricardo Jaime's sister.
Thank you. And did you want to make any comments, or you're here to support? Just here to support. Thank you. If there is no one else that would like to speak in favor at this time, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? I'm seeing none. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And we are now closed with another vote of 5-0. I'm going to hand this over to Commissioner Brown. This is in your district.
Madam Chair, do you want me to provide a few
that would be
anecdotal
great.
comments
Yes,
very
please
quickly?
do.
So, board members, this is something that you actually may see with more frequency, particularly with respect to Halcyon, which I think is building these into their leases. We have provisions in our alcohol code that specifically provide that a licensee, which is who is in front of you, cannot enter into an agreement, whereby that would be a lease agreement, whereby the rent under the lease is in any way tethered or connected to their alcohol sales. But our code further says that the Board of Commissioners can grant an exemption to that prohibition. So, obviously, at the end of the day, this is a board determination, but we have allowed this applicant to proceed through the process having a lease agreement that specifically runs afoul of that requirement. But the point is, Madam Chair, the board can simply approve the application and specifically waive that prohibition. And I might recommend that that is probably the wave of things to come with respect to some of the development we're seeing. And so I wanted to have one opportunity to walk through you with it. I think I know the origins of this. I think this is sort of a holdover from our alcohol code being written at a time we were very much a teetotaler community. And it was meant to be a disincentive to linking there being any monetary gain for alcohol sales. We may be confronted with the real practicalities of the real world now with respect to how some of these leases, these commercial leases, are set up. So, Commissioner Brown, all I would propose is if you are inclined to approve this, you need to specifically state in your motion that as part of the approval, you are also granting an exemption to Section 1.3D.
Thanks, Ken. So, Ken, a quick question. Is there any, I guess, relevant or, in your opinion, and you've been here a while, reason underlying this other than just it seems a little bit, outdated to me?
Well, no, and I think that when this language was drafted, it was exactly what I had referenced. I think that it was to ensure there was never a financial incentive or motivation to sell more alcohol. And I just think, given the dynamics of mixed use these days, and given the way that these leases are being structured everywhere, I just don't know that this is language that is going to make a lot of sense to a lot of folks.
Right, and I would offer that that rent is going to be based not on their alcohol sales, but on their total sales, which also includes food in this case.
Fair enough. It's linked in some way, but you're right. It's not a direct
It's
linkage
their
only to
sales
alcohol.
of all kinds, correct?
Yes, it is.
And so it's not necessarily just tied to their alcohol.
Fair enough.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
Yeah, I have one more, Ken. Is this, you said this is kind of the wave, this is the way contracts are
Yeah,
structured now?
I think we're seeing more and more of this, and I think it's going to get more frequent, not less. I do, particularly in some of these, some of the new, more Avalon type multi-use coming online.
A couple more questions. Has your staff received the training for alcohol sales and the do's and don'ts? And
So our building is still under construction, and we will be hiring our staff within the next month. And my sister, she's head of HR, and she has a good background in training for alcohol.
Yeah, I'm a certified ServSafe instructor for food safety and responsible alcohol sales, so I teach the course.
well, we are excited about Halcyon for sure. The whole board is and the community is. So are we ready for a motion, Madam Chair?
I believe so.
So I'd like to move that we approve the request for alcohol license to sell malt beverages, beer, wine, and distilled spirits for consumption premises for CT Taqueria and Cantina, Inc., DBA CT Cantina and Taqueria, 6220 Town Square, Alpharetta, Georgia. Name licensee Ricardo Jamie, AL 190814, with the board's approval to grant an exemption under Section 1.3D of the UDC Code, Forsyth County.
And Commissioner Brown, did you mean the alcohol code?
Alcohol code.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Looking forward to
Thank you.
seeing you open. Amy Conrath, we do have another alcohol license hearing.
Yes. An AL 190815. This is located again in Commission District Number 2. This is a request for approval of an alcohol license for EcoFuel LLC, doing business as Texaco Food Mart 1. Name licensee is Harish Pederetti for an application to sell malt beverages and wine by the package at their place of business located at 7110 McGinnis Ferry Road.
Thank you. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. We are open with a vote of 5-0. And I am going to guess that you might be the applicant.
Yes. Good evening, Commissioners. I am Harish Pedireddy. I live in Forsyth County. This application is for an alcohol license for the convenience store, Texaco Food Mart, which is located on 7110 McGinnis Ferry Road.
Thank you. And just hang tight with him and see if there's anybody else who wants to speak. Is there anyone else who'd like to come and speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this application? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And we're closed with a vote of 5-0. I'm going to hand this off to Commissioner Brown again.
Hey, Harish, are all of your employees trained on how to deal with alcohol sales?
Yeah, they do have the license. They have the permit to sell the license, and they're trained.
You supervise that pretty
Yes.
closely? Okay. I don't have any more. Anybody else have any questions?
Are you just taking over an existing location and changing the alcohol license?
Yes, that is correct. We are.
Okay. Do you have any other alcohol licenses in Forsyth County in addition to this location?
No, this is the first one that I'm doing.
Thank you.
I do. You do understand, I'm sure Amy and them have went over with you about the other products that are tied to your alcohol sales, like the synthetic opiates and synthetic marijuana, the other things that if you sell incorrectly does go against your alcohol license.
Yes.
And do you still sell it?
I wouldn't be selling those which are illegal.
Okay, good. That's the right answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the board? Commissioner Brown?
I'd like to move we approve the request for alcohol license to sell malt beverages, beer and wine by the package. EcoFuel LLC, doing business as Texaco Food Mart 1, 7110 McGinnis Ferry Road, Suwanee 30024. Name licensee is Harish Pederetti, AL 190815.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Amy, again, and we have another application for District 2. Wow.
AL
Party
190816. This is again located in Commission District Number 2. This is a request for approval of an alcohol license for Magobadi Inc., doing business as Goo's Dumplings. Name licensee is Yvonne Gu Khan for an application to sell malt beverages and wine for consumption on the premises at their place of business located at 6330 Halcyon Way, Suite 750. Again, this applicant is located in Halcyon, and they are also asking for the exemption that Mr. Gerard had spoken about previously, 1.3D in the alcohol code.
Thank you, Amy. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I'm
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And we're open with a vote of 5-0. If there's anyone here, there you are. Come on forward.
Hi, good evening. My name is Zahid Khan, and I'm representing Goo's Dumplings.
Thank you.
Sure.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone else who would like, or is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And we're closed with a vote of 5-0. Commissioner Brown?
So Halcyon's looking good out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
You guys excited?
Yeah, very excited. We're residents of Forsyth County, so we're glad to bring a unique flavor to the neighborhood. We're Sichuan Chinese cuisine, and our biggest accomplishment was being named Best Dumplings in Atlanta by the Food Network a couple years ago.
Oh.
And you could have brought samples tonight.
At least a menu.
Next time. We have 2 locations, one in Krog Street Market. It'll be very similar to that, and another in Chamblee also.
Oh, we have one in Chamblee.
And you'll train your employees to make sure they know all the rules and to stay out of trouble with the
Yes.
alcohol sales.
Yep, we will,
And what
for sure.
Cindy said about that.
Yeah.
Are you using a company to actually help train your staff, or are you going to do it in-house?
I'm not too sure. I think we might use a company because my wife took the training course already.
So just a little piece, something to take or discard. There's nothing in our code that makes you do this. But we have found that people that put in their employment room next to their time clock, the penalty to an employee if they get caught selling underage, and they are less likely to sell underage when they see what actually happens to them.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Commissioner Brown, what is your pleasure?
I'd like to move that we approve the request for alcohol license to sell malt beverages, beer and wine for consumption on the premises for Magubadai Incorporated, doing business as Goose Dumplings, located 6330 Halcyon Way, Suite 750, Alpharetta, Georgia 30005. Name licensee is Yvonne Gu Khan, AL190816, with the exemption under section 1.3D of our alcohol code of Forsyth County.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
Have a good night.
Welcome to Forsyth
Thank you.
County.
Thanks.
All right. Amy.
AL190813, this is located in Commission District Number 3. This is a request for approval of an alcohol license for Manny Tacos and Bar, LLC. Name licensee is Manuel Gomez Espinoza, for an application to sell malt beverages, wine, and distilled spirits for consumption on the premises at their place of business, located at 5955 Atlanta Highway.
Thank you. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please vote. And we're open with a vote of 5-0. If anyone is here to speak in favor of this application, please come forward at this time.
Good afternoon. This is Manuel Gomez, and I'm his daughter, Vanessa Gomez.
Thank you. I'll see if there's anyone else here. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And we're closed with a vote of 5-0. I'm going to hand this off to Commissioner Levent. This is in your district.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
So the applicant's going to be Emmanuel Gomez Espinoza?
Yes, this is my father.
And he speaks clear English, or are you here to help?
Yes, he understands.
He does understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, so the alcohol ordinance, you've read it, and you understand the ramifications if y'all sell underage or break any of the county ordinances, correct?
Yeah. We already had an application for this same location. We just switched owners, so we understand.
Right, just want to make sure you do, because this is the only time we like to see you here.
Okay.
That's why we help you get your license. We don't ever like to see you back in front of us selling underage.
Yeah,
Okay?
correct.
As long as he understands, because I'm not, you do speak clear English,
Yeah.
you understand what I'm saying, comprende? Or you, no, you do not. So are you interpreting for him? Will you please let us know what his answers are?
Okay, I'll go ahead. No van a vender alcohol para los menores.
No, and sell, alcohol for the
Minors.
minors.
And has he read, understands our ordinances?
Yes, he should. This is the second time, so we did it.
Okay,
last time.
thank you. Just want to make double sure.
Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
And have y'all hired a company to do any training, or are you going to try to handle it yourself?
Not yet. We are still not open for business, so we're currently going to figure all that out. But
And you heard what I said to the other gentleman about putting something near the time clock.
Yeah.
It helps tremendously. Sometimes employees get overzealous, and for whatever the reasons, they'll sell thinking there's not much ramification on them. It's all on the owner of the company, but at least when they realize it hits them too, they're less likely to do it.
okay.
It may help you a lot, okay?
That sounds like
Thank
a good
you.
idea. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board? Commissioner Levent, what is your pleasure?
Thank you. I move that we approve the Manny's Taco and Bar LLC located at 5955 Atlanta Highway for the alcohol license AL190813 for Manuel Gomez Espinosa.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion passes with a vote of 5-0. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 5, Tom Brown. I believe this is a procedural.
Yes,
Hearing.
procedurally, application CP0200, excuse me, actually it's AZ 190002, and public hearing 5A, which was the understanding for plantings on the right-of-way that accompanied this. Neither of these applications, the public hearing in particular, could we advertise in time for tonight's meeting, and we have advertised them for June 6th.
Thank you. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Chair, we don't need to open the.
Oh, you don't want to open the hearing? I thought we would just open it and close it.
You
Okay.
didn't advertise it.
Well, no,
Right,
I mean, that
well,
would've
we
been
would not be
fine,
taking
too.
a vote.
We can just withdraw it off the agenda tonight.
Okay. We'll withdraw it at this
You want to
time.
make, but it's already listed on the agenda to be on June 6th. Do we need to make a motion to make sure it's on June 6th?
Well,
We did that
I
in the work
figured we would
session,
just
didn't we?
postpone decision until that already scheduled meeting.
Right. I think we're fine. I think we've announced it tonight. We're advertising it for June 6th. I'm going to work with the clerk or staff has to get it on June 6th. I think we're fine. I just, to be fair, I asked the chair to go ahead and call it out. She's
Right.
done that. I think we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you want me to poll the audience, see if anybody did come to speak?
I think that'd be appropriate.
Okay. Is there anyone who did come to speak for this application? I'm not seeing any.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to withdraw this from the agenda tonight, and it will move forward onto our June 6th calendar as
Moved.
advertised?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion passes with a vote of 5-0.
I think we did that at work session.
Thank you. Public hearing number 6.
Madam Chair, board members, this last public hearing item this evening is a public hearing regarding a moratorium that was imposed on a time-sensitive basis on April 18th of 2019. It was to bar the acceptance of applications for rezoning to a Res 2 conservation zoning designation. I know that the board gave direction to staff to commence some options with respect to perhaps bringing back a different product on the Res 2 conservation. I know that Mr. Brown and his staff have been doing that. Pursuant to the zoning procedures law, it is my position we can do a 30-day moratorium on a expedited or time-sensitive basis, but to do it longer, we do need to conduct a public hearing, and that is the purpose of this evening's. If the board is so inclined, at the end of this public hearing, you can extend this moratorium, and the date presently it would be extended to is August 16th, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
A motion and a second. Please vote. We're open with a vote of 5-0. If there is anyone who is here to speak in favor of continuing this moratorium, please come forward at this time. If there is anyone who is here to speak in opposition to us continuing this moratorium, please come forward at this time. I'm seeing none. Is there a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And we are closed with a vote of 5-0. What is the pleasure of the board on this? We're
I have a
in
question
progress
first,
with
if
this?
you don't mind,
Certainly. Go ahead.
Tom Brown, are you aware of anybody coming into your office yet that has tried to apply for this category and then found out there's a moratorium on it?
I have had at least one phone call that I can think of, someone asking about it.
Okay. Were they looking to apply or just asking about it in general, what we're planning on doing with it?
Hard to tell. Early in the discussion, I identified it was under moratorium, and
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, just for a point of order, there is a resolution, so if there's going to be a motion made, I would appreciate it including the resolution.
Thank you for that point. In that, it doesn't seem like there are people clamoring at the door to try to apply for this product, and we are trying to put it into a work period so we can make some adjustments. It would be my desire to go ahead and extend it out to August 16th, but I'll allow anyone else who wants to speak to this subject to do so at this time before I call for a motion.
Yes, thank you. I have met with Planning and Development. We have we have a committee that we'll be meeting with some citizens that are quite concerned and would like to be active and having input. So yes, I would like to see this moratorium extend just until August the 16th so we can get all of our I's dotted, our T's crossed.
You mind if I'm in that meeting?
Which one?
The one you're going to pull the citizens into?
Sure, you can go.
Thank you.
I think we'll very likely see it in a public hearing. We all should be here.
Is there a way that we could put more people on the committee or with citizens?
Yes, it is, absolutely, yes.
And maybe a
Because
land-
It's for the whole county.
And maybe a land planner that can calculate all the numbers properly?
Be good.
I'd love to have a land planner on there, so we know what we're actually doing.
Commissioner Brown, do you have any comments or questions?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. What is the pleasure of the board?
Do I do it as a motion?
Yes, please, and with the and to adopt the resolution that goes with it,
I move that
please.
we adopt the resolution that the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners extend until August the 16th, 2019, moratorium on acceptance of applications for rezoning to a Res 2 conservation zoning designation.
I'll give that a second. All in favor, or please, everyone vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0. Thank you. And we're at the end of our public hearings. At this time, Karen is going to announce again the rules for the public comment speakers.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We do not have anyone who has signed up for the second public comments. If anyone would like to address the board, please come forward at this time. I see none.
Thank you. We'll move on with old business then. Number one, Tom Brown.
Old Business 1, zoning application 3915 Ramu Kasani, located in Commission District Number 1. It's a request to rezone 2.037 acres from R2R to CBD for an 11,050 square foot office retail restaurant establishment located on Pilgrim Mill Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval of this rezoning from R2R to CBD with conditions. The public hearing was held on November 13th. The proposed use was found to be in conformity with the comprehensive plan. Staff is supportive, and we do not have a red line set of conditions, so you're looking at the Planning Commission conditions here on the screen. They're the only ones that will be displayed.
Thank you. Since this is not a public hearing, I'll hand this over to Commissioner Cooper.
Thank you. Okay, on this one, this request happened at the same time that the widening of Pilgrim Mill Road right in front of this development that is on Pilgrim Mill Circle, and the moving of the entrance to Pilgrim Mill Circle, as well as the construction of the bridge on Pilgrim Mill Road. So these folks have had a lot to deal with at one time. And on this particular zoning, it has had the conditions put on that are from the Coal Mountain overlay, as well as we will not be allowing a drive-through restaurant on this. So at this point, I see no other reason with the conditions that have been put on to deny this, so I move that we approve ZA 3915 to rezone from single-family residential restricted district R2R to commercial business district CBD on 2.037 acres for an 11,050 square foot office / rental / restaurant establishment with 67 parking spaces.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0. Thank you. Item number 3 was withdrawn from the agenda. Oh, no, so I'm sorry. That was postponed until June the 20th. And that takes us to our new business this evening. Item number 1A in District 1, that goes from Tom Brown again.
Zoning application 3919, the estate of Paul Harley Reed Jr., located in Commission District Number 1. This is a request to rezone 9.863 acres from A1 to Res 3 for 15 residential lots with a density of 1.52 units per acre. The application is associated with zoning application 3825 for the total development of 52 residential lots. The property is located on Roper Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval of this rezoning from A1 to Res 3 with conditions. We do have a red line version of the conditions that we will display. The public hearing was held on April 23rd. The proposed use was not in conformity with the comprehensive plan, and staff is non-supportive.
Thank you. I'm going to hand this item off to Commissioner Cooper for District 1. Just if I'm remembering this correctly, this was with longer, narrower lots rather than the typical presentation that we normally would see, and it has the creek at the back. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I'm trying to find it in my book. I am so
And
sorry.
No, this is one, the one you're thinking about is on Castleberry Road.
Okay.
This is further north, and
Okay.
this is the addition, in addition to a property that was zoned maybe
Oh,
a few
gotcha.
years back.
Right.
The new entrance, the proposed original entrance to the older zoning goes away, and the property now will be accessed through this new land if it is zoned tonight.
Thank you for that clarity. I see that the applicant's counselor is already standing over there with his notebook. So if you want to come up forward, Commissioner Cooper may have some
Like for him to
questions for
come up
you.
on this
Oh,
one, yes.
and Mr. Bryant as well.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Christopher Light with Lipscomb Johnson on behalf of the applicant, and Ricky Bryan also on behalf of the applicant.
Now I got it.
You have some questions, or you mean?
Well, here's what I would like for you to do. I'd like for you guys to tell me, I know that you are requesting that this be a Res 3 in lieu of a Res 2, which goes against the comprehensive plan. So you had made a lot of adjustments to comply and improvements. So I would like for you to tell me what those adjustments and improvements are.
So initially, this project began as about a 36-acre tract that had a difficult entrance out onto Roper Road. This family that owned this 10 acres at that time, the patriarch was sick and was not wanting to sell, so we wanted to put it together in the beginning, but we could not. He passed away, the family wanted to sell, so we brought this in to create a better entrance and to add to the additional Res 3, take away a very difficult entrance. We went to the neighbors, we showed them what we wanted to do, they all were in support of it. We did a Res 2 plan that showed 12 lots, and we agreed to do 11 lots, creating a grid green space buffer that they could not get in a Res 2. None of our lots intrude into the buffer areas, the undisturbed buffer areas. We talked to each one of them and asked them where they want to position the green space, and we did that to their satisfaction. Therefore, they were very supportive. I think there were 4 neighbors. 2 of them came and spoke in support of it, and all of them were in support. And we were able to craft a plan with a Res 3 zoning with a density of a Res 2, which ended up being less. It was like 1.12. Very proud of that. Those lots will match the lots that they'll go into. So the fact that it connected to a Res 3, we felt like that was a reason to pursue it, and the neighbors felt the same, and we were able to do that, and everybody was. And I'm proud of that. They're 80-foot lots, like the other deal will be. The other deal actually we waited. So the other deal now will conform to the new Res 3. So there were lots lost by waiting to put this together. So there will not be 52 lots. When you do a new plan for the lot in the back, it'll have to conform to the new Res 3, which we understood that, and we were able to, we didn't have a problem doing that because this created a better entrance. So everybody wins, in my opinion, on this.
And how many lots altogether do you have on this?
As on this deal, there's only 11 shown in this section.
Mm-hmm, okay. And then there was a question from a neighbor that lives across the street about the entrance. I know you had worked with another neighbor to move that entrance so it was not across the street from her driveway. And now there is a different neighbor that wants you to work with them as far as the entrance being across from his. So could you tell me about that?
And we were still mitigating through that. That's why we added the condition that we sent over the other day about allowing you to have final say of that site plan. So it's the one you see in red.
It's the single red line on there.
We asked to add that.
Yeah.
We'll come back to you with their acquiescence exactly where that is, because it really has to do with how the lights shine and hit the man's house. So we can manipulate drive it, but until we have more specific type engineering, I want to be real sure that we do what he wants to do. So he's okay with this condition. I made that promise and that we'll do that. So that's why we added this condition that you will have final say of that.
Right.
And I'll bring him and or a written document from him that says he's in agreement of this. So been great to work with. The area to the left is a very heavily wooded area that we wanted to keep. They're big trees that if you look to the far left, that's probably the biggest stand of trees. And so we really wanted to avoid putting the driveway in that area to take those trees down, but The other neighbor who said keep that said, look, y'all work together, and if it impedes in that some, I'm okay with that. So there will be an ultimate site plan that has to be done that with more tighter engineering. We will bring to you and show you that these neighbors have signed off on it. So that's why I had them add that condition.
Okay, and are any of the neighbors that you had talked with, I know there were neighbors that came and spoke at the Planning and Development meeting on this. Do you have any neighbors here this
so early
evening?
they cannot come tonight.
Okay.
But I will have you, before we get on that plan, I'll have them all sign off on that plan that I bring you that you can have final say over.
Okay.
What is the existing subdivision that this is being added to?
There's not a name for it. It's undeveloped. It's just undeveloped land. But it
Okay.
And-
So it's unnamed.
It was zoned a couple years ago.
One other question. Is this entrance going to be an additional entrance, or is this replacing the
It
original
will
entrance?
replace that entrance.
Okay, so you have a plan for the closure of that, and that's met with the community's,
We have a plan
Happiness.
showing both of those together, and it was actually referred to. So ultimately, when we get an LDP, we're going to have to show that. And there'll only be one entrance as per this.
okay.
And that original entrance came right by a neighbor's house, and it was a long entrance, and it was has more sight line, and when they work it out with the neighbor across the street, it'll be a much better entrance.
The original zoning is not built, there's not a driveway to close, there's not a street to close. You're just meshing these two pieces together if this gets zoned tonight as one development, correct?
That is correct.
And this will be the new driveway, which serves everybody better according to what y'all are telling us.
And they waited to put this together because they
Okay.
thought it was in the best interest of that community.
All right, thank you.
And the existing exit is on what road?
They both were on.
They're both on Roper, it's just moving it to a different, okay.
That is
thank-
correct.
Thank you.
I know that you have worked with Planning and Development quite a bit with this, with the District 1 Planning and Development Commissioner, Carrie Hill. And Carrie and I have driven this site, we've driven this road, and have become very familiar with it from onset to, with the different changes, with the changes of what you originally had for the entrance and your first change proposal that you were thinking of to now what you're thinking of. And I know at this point you've got, if we add this, by adding this extra condition for the change of the entrance, there'll be 29 conditions that have been put on it. From what I can tell too, I like the fact that it is less than the number of units than what you actually have in a Res 2. So I would like, is there anything else you guys would like to say on this?
Just let me add one quick item that, by doing the Res 3, we're able to bring the lots out of the exterior, and particularly the buffers and stuff, because of the lot size. And so that area will be owned by HOA, which was a big thing for the neighbors back there, that somebody couldn't come in their house and then come down and take all the trees. The HOA would actually maintain those much larger buffers than Res 3 or Res 2 even requires.
And I'd like to add, earlier, I wish I'd have spoke that I was in favor of your postponement of the Res 2 conservation. I think this is a template for that idea. We use the same ideas in that. So I'm glad that you're proposing the Res 2 conservation to allow us to really work it out, and I hope to be a part of that process, because
In the future, if we do it right, that can be something for maintaining our natural resources and an asset, definitely to our county and our topography.
Absolutely.
So on the, anything else from any of the other commissioners, any questions, or before I make a motion? Okay. Then I move that this is ZA 3919 be rezoned from agricultural district A1 to single-family residential district Res 3, in that this Res 3 has got less number of units than that which would be allowed in a Res 2. I want that to be part of it, so stated, to single-family residential district 3 on 9.863 acres for 15 residential lots, or is it 15, is that right? 13. 11. I'm sorry, I mixed you up with another one, probably got the one right after you. Okay, with 11, so with 11 residential lots with a density of 1.52 units per acre.
1.12.
Man, I just messed that one up all the way around, didn't I?
Look what you just gave them. They weren't even looking for it.
Okay, did you get that straight as far as what I actually said? Do I need to read that over again? And
You
correct
wanted
my
that
errors?
to recognize the conditions as displayed as well?
Yes, and to recognize the conditions, the 28 conditions, as well as condition number 29, which states that the requirement of the final location of the entrance be approved by the engineering department and District 1 County Commissioner.
Second.
That is your motion? Thank you.
That's it.
We have a motion and a
Yes,
second.
finally.
Please
That was
vote.
painful.
I think we got it all out in that motion. And that motion passes with a vote of 5-0. Moving on to new business 1B, Tom Brown.
Zoning application 3926. The applicant is 1699 Land Company LLC. This is located in Commission District Number 1. It's a request to rezone 8.71 acres from A1 to Res 3 for 15 residential lots with a density of 1.73 units per acre. The application is associated with zoning application 3713 and ZA 3739 for the total development of 255 residential lots. The property is located northeast of Hurt Bridge Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval of this rezoning from A1 to Res 2 with conditions. The public hearing was held on April 23rd. The proposed use is not in conformity with the comprehensive plan. The staff is non-supportive. And the Planning Commission version of the conditions are the only version we have. Those are on the screen now.
Thank you. Commissioner Cooper?
Okay, on this one, I'm sorry, but this one just has to follow the comprehensive plan because there were no concessions made to try to make this a better product as far as the Res 3 goes. So this, I do move that this be, I am for this one being a Res 2, and in that Res 2 that it would be, I'll move the ZA 3926 be rezoned from Agricultural District 1 to Single Family Residential District Res 2 on 8.71 acres with 13 residential lots and a density of 1.3 per acre.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion passes with a vote of 5-0. 1C was withdrawn without prejudice, which puts us at 1D. Tom Brown.
Zoning application 3932, Bethany Properties Group LLC, located in Commission District Number 3. This is a request to rezone 25.273 acres from A1 to Res 2 for 33 residential lots with a density of 1.31 units per acre. The property is located on Bentley Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval of this rezoning from A1 to Res 2 with conditions. We do have a red line version of the conditions that we will display. The public hearing was held on April 23rd. The proposed use is in conformity with the comprehensive plan and staff is supportive.
Thank you. This is District 3. Commissioner Levent, this is yours.
Applicant here, please step up. I have a couple of questions, please. If you'll state your name, sir. Or your counselor can.
Commissioner, I'm not sure that's the red line version. There's a couple of changes
not.
made.
They always scroll that one first, and they go to the red line.
Yes, sir.
But why? It makes no sense.
We have the red lines at our stations. Do we have them over there as well?
We do, and commissioners, we always, based on a prior discussion, we'll do the slow scroll through that first version. Whenever you don't want it, let us know, and we'll jump right to the red line version.
That's fine.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
Okay. I just have a couple questions and clarifications just to make sure we're good. Number 11, there's one small change. And number 6, hold it there for just a second when we clarify that one. Hold still just for a second. The red line on that, Tim Perkins, can you explain it?
Yes, earlier we had concerns about meeting fire flow requirements. We had our consultants run this area through our model. It showed that we will currently meet our minimum fire flow requirements without this 10-inch water main.
So would it be adequate if we just go ahead and remove number 6?
They would meet all of our requirements without that. There's a future project in a few years along parts of Bentley Road, but they do have adequate water.
But we have it in our code where they have to do what they need to do to fit your needs, correct? So you don't really have to have 6 in there at all?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
It may be something you want to leave and just take out that specificity as to the,
I'm a person that doesn't like to have two things that could possibly conflict with one another. It's already in our code, where they have to meet what they tell them to do. And they put that 10-inch in just in caution, but in the meantime, they've gotten their study back, and it shows they don't need it, is what he was stating.
does the code capture at whose expense that is done? Because this outlines that here.
Tim?
They already have water in front of this property, so there'll be no water line extensions of our system required.
Thank you. She wouldn't have believed me. I had to get you to tell her. All right, number 11, please. You guys okay if we increase the 2 stories from 2,600 to 2,800?
Yes.
Is that okay with you? Okay. And on number 14, if you'll stop there for just a minute. Ford board fencing, the 4-inch wide boards are not typically indicative of a horse board fencing, correct architectural look. So do you mind if I make that a minimum of 5-inch, which means you'll probably have to go to like a 5 1/4 board? Okay. And do you mind if we change the 4-inch by 4-inch posts to a minimum of 5-inch, which typically puts you into a 6 by 6, which is about a 5 1/4 or 5 1/2-inch post?
We typically do a 4 by 6 post.
Okay, then that'll be fine too. A minimum of 4 by 6 post, because I got you minimum 4 by 4. I really want to make sure it's authentic.
Sure.
I got you. But I don't want to do by inches, because in reality, they're not true inches. And they put it down as inches in these conditions.
3.5 by 5.5.
That's correct.
I would think it would default to the standard classification.
I'll just call it a 4 by 6 post, if that's okay with you. And I had a couple more questions, if you may. Down to number 25. There shall be a minimum of a 25-foot buffer, hold still please, from the existing residential property line. When, Tom, on a Res 2, do they not already have that in the code that it has to be a 25-foot buffer? Or is it undisturbed or just a buffer?
It depends on the size of the neighborhood.
So this is 30, proposed to be, I think, 33 lots?
Yeah, I think you'll need to do it through a condition.
Okay. And is it undisturbed, or is that okay that we just do a buffer that they have to replant some way?
Well, yeah, either way. Undisturbed,
Okay.
it's going to keep them from doing any grading. They're not going to be able to cut their slope into that area.
They may have to do some grading, though, just to direct their water correctly, so I'll
Just a
leave
straight
that.
up buffer, or actually calling out a planted or graded buffer is going to allow them to get in that area. And any area they disturb, they'll have to plant it back to our buffer standards.
And I think that's it. Let's see, we got, and they got 29 that states he'll do whatever efforts he can to remain those the existing trees in that buffer. That works. This number 31, all driveways to individual homes shall be concrete with brick aprons. Are you good with that? I've just never seen that in the conditions before.
Sure.
Okay.
It may be stone aprons, but yeah.
Very good.
Stone.
Well, are you going to be doing stone or brick?
Brick hyphen or stone.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
because we got to make sure.
Masonry, how about
Or I could do brick or stone aprons, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Glad we asked that, because you'd been stuck with brick. Okay, I think we're good. If you guys are good.
What is your pleasure, Commissioner Levent?
All right, I make a motion that we approve the zoning of ZA 3932 from agricultural district A1, single family residential district Res 2 as shown on the screen with the following changes. On number 11, the two-story minimum heated square footage will be changed from 2,600 to 2,800. Under number 14, where it reads, minimum of 1 inch thick by 4 inch wide fence board will be a 1 inch thick by a minimum of 5 inch wide fence board, be affixed to a minimum of a 4 by 6 post.
Are you finished?
And number, no ma'am, and number 31, additionally we'll add, after it says concrete with brick, add the words or stone in between brick and aprons. And that's my motion, if you'll.
Second.
Now I have one more question, because something else came up. I noticed this was kind of awkward. It stated that your garages doesn't make them to be side entries, so some of them are going to be front. But on number 16, it says they won't exceed 50% of the overall width of the house. Do you have any homes that are going to be that wide of a garage compared to the home? Those are those ones we looked at in those plans the other day that none of us liked, up to 50% wide.
Well, do you want to discuss this further?
No, just, I want to hear what he says first.
No,
and then,
we will not have.
I didn't think so. I saw,
Larger than-
yeah, okay. Then I'll leave it alone.
Sir, I want to ask you one question.
Sure.
How many houses have you built?
Oh, he's a good builder. There's
Well,
no
I know
doubt.
that. That's why I want to ask you.
A little over 6,000 in our 71 years.
I knew it was a lot. Come
No,
on up
and they-
to District 4. I promise I won't give you a hard time.
Oh, I wouldn't give him a hard time. In fact, this is real easy. You can stop that, Mr. Mills, anytime you want to, but you wouldn't be fulfilled today.
It's like custom homes.
So here's a real deal. Here's where I really gave him a hard time. 3.5 years, a gentleman came to me wanting to do Res 3 in District 3. And I said, anything south of Post Road, you got to do Res 2. How long did it take you to find a piece of land you can do Res 2 on? 3.5 years. And I appreciate it, by the way. Thank you. Anyways, there's a motion.
Are we ready?
Madam
I'll
Chair,
call for.
can I have
Yes,
a point
sir.
of order very quickly?
Yes, please.
Commissioner Levant, on the last condition that what was the last condition that you added something to?
31, I believe, sir.
Can we go to 31, please? You said something right at the very end. Could you repeat the tweaks you made to 31?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So between where it says with brick aprons,
Yes.
we're going to add brick or stone aprons.
And that's it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for the clarification. We do have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion
Thank you.
passes with a vote of 5-0. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, I have a point of order with respect to a previous item, if we would
Yes.
allow me to revisit it very
Please.
quickly. So this would be, and this is for you, Commissioner Cooper, this would be new business item 1B, which is 1699 Land Company, 3926. I just want to make sure, because I'm looking at two documents here, and I want to make sure that your will, what the board wanted to do, and your vision is realized. So there's 3 data points I want to ask you about. We get it that you zoned it to a Res 2, understand that completely. With respect to the number of lots, you said 13 lots. I just want to make sure that was your vision, was 13.
Yes, sir, it is.
And then the last thing I want to ask you is that you then gave out a density of 1.3 units per acre, and I want to make sure that was your vision as well.
Yes, I took that from Table 11.2B of the UDC Performance Standards.
Okay.
I believe you it was 11. You said 13, but they were actually only asking for 11?
No, that was
No, that was a different zone.
No, everything she's doing makes sense to me. I'm just
Okay.
wanting to make sure, because the Planning Commission had 15 and 1.73, and I just want to make sure your revision was 13 and 1.3.
Yeah, both of these that came out of the plan, I'm not trying to these two came out without the appropriate changes that came from the Planning Commission vote. What was done was that which was proposed got put down here as saying that was what was approved, but it wasn't. So that was why I was.
Thank you.
Not trying to make excuses for myself, but that's really why I was stumbling around and.
No, it's fine, and everything that you have said, you said it appropriately. We're just making sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If we're ready to move on, we'll go ahead and address our next item. Tom Brown, if you could apprise us of 1E.
CP
No, this is a different,
19.
this is a different one.
Go ahead, Tom.
Very
0002,
good.
Marla S. Powell, Commission District Number 4. This is a request for the issuance of a conditional use permit to operate a kennel with outdoor facilities in a proposed 200 square foot building on 0.613 acres of property currently zoned A1. The applicant's also requesting 2 variances. The first is to reduce the side setback from 25 feet to 5 along the western property boundary. The second variance is to reduce the side buffer from 25 feet to 5 feet along the western property boundary. The property is located on Matt Highway. The Planning Commission recommends approval of this conditional use permit with variances and conditions. We will be displaying a red line version of the conditions. The public hearing was held on April 23rd. Although the proposed use is not in conformity with the comprehensive plan based on its location within the Matt Highway neighborhood node, the intensity of the use on a small agricultural lot, which requires variances, was not found to be appropriate. Staff was non-supportive based on the intensity of the use, the lot size, and the variance request.
Thank you. I'm going to hand this off to Commissioner Mills. This is your district.
I don't know if you'll want anybody want the applicants to come down, but there's nobody in opposition to it, and nobody came to public participation, and I find it to be appropriate.
So they're keeping the ag district on their zoning and just adding the cup. Are there any considerations that we should be looking at with respect to the conditions on how, are there any variances, or, yes, there are, so.
And they had to go
the
before
neighbors have-
ZBA, didn't they wind up having to go before ZBA, or did that wind up changing because we had to postpone? Didn't we have to postpone this for it to come back to us? Do y'all
I don't
want to?
remember that. Maybe the applicant.
Aren't they here?
Are the
Yeah.
adjacent properties also
It's all
zoned
agricultural, and they've got a dirt
And-
road beside
And they
them.
did not have an issue with the operation, because it is an outdoor operation being moved considerably closer to their property.
Yeah, it's 6 dogs, it's fine.
One of the conditions when I looked at this that I wondered if you might want to entertain is to make a, make a specific requirement under the condition number 1. It does say that they shall not be on the property for, not to extend beyond 6 p.m. If you wished to put anything on there to basically reinforce that, stating that there would be no overnight keeping of animals, just so it was clear. So it does not become a bore, because the cup is actually for a kennel, although they're doing grooming, that would also entitle them to doing boarding. That's why I ask. So you may want to
Do
consider.
y'all want to come down?
If that's not the intent, they may not care if you make that restriction.
They probably don't. Y'all will come to the mic. Did y'all hear what?
Yes.
The condition, do y'all mind?
No, there will be no dogs after 6 p.m. There is no overnight.
Yeah, the only reason I bring that up is that the cup is actually for a kennel, which would assume those rights. And so I just did not know whether or not you would, if your business model did not include that, that you would not mind agreeing that there would be no overnight
I do
keeping
not
of
mind
animals.
No overnight.
Thank you.
Okay. Did y'all have to go before ZBA about a tree or?
It got changed because I spoke with the arborist and he said there wasn't a problem because Lelands were not even on the table and we didn't know that.
At one point, they thought they were going to have to go because of a tree.
Power lines.
And about they couldn't remove a tree or having to take a tree down or something, so. Okay, no overnight stays.
Yeah, just since we are licensing.
No
we will
overnight
be
boarding of
approving as a
dogs
kennel.
shall be allowed.
All right, no overnight boarding of dogs will be allowed. I hadn't had one person contact me, and y'all didn't have anybody complaining. And you've been doing it and found out that, or is this a brand-new business? Okay.
Want to do it legally.
Yeah, because you were doing it and then you found out?
No, we did not.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Are there any other questions from the board? Commissioner Mills?
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve CP 190002 to operate a kennel grooming with outdoor facilities and with the conditions as presented and the variances, and adding condition number 3, no overnight stays, no overnight boarding of dogs will be allowed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Mr. Brown, we're moving on to F.
New business 1F, zoning application 3935, Eugenie Stoyupine, located in Commission District Number 4. This is a request to rezone 0.899 acres from HB to Res 2 for one residential lot with a density of 1.12 units per acre. The applicant's also requesting a variance to reduce the front setback from 30 feet to 23 feet. The property is located on Dahlonega Highway. The Planning Commission recommends approval of this rezoning from HB to Res 2 with variance and conditions. The conditions we are showing are the Planning Commission's version. We do not have a red line for this application. The hearing was held on April 23rd. Proposed use is in conformity with the comprehensive plan. Staff is supportive.
And this is an existing structure, so the variances are needed to bring it into compliance for the current structure that's there.
Correct.
Thank you. Commissioner Mills, I believe this one is yours as well. Nope, Mike.
If no one's got any questions, I recommend that we rezone ZA 3935 from highway business to single-family residential, Res 2, as displayed.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion passes with a vote of 5-0. Number 1G, Tom.
CP 190005, Health South Rehabilitation Hospital of Forsyth County, LLC is the applicant. It's located in Commission District Number 5. This is a request for the issuance of a conditional use permit to operate a hospital and health-related services not otherwise specified. This particular project is focused on medical rehabilitation within a proposed 74,500 square foot building, allowing around-the-clock operation on 9.2 acres of property currently zoned CBD. The applicant's also requesting a variance to reduce the number of loading spaces from 8 to 2. The property is located on Sanders Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval of the issuance of this conditional use permit with variance and condition, as well as a recommendation that the screening of this development from adjacent residential properties shall be accomplished through the addition of a retaining wall, a 35-foot landscape strip, an 8-foot treated wood fence, and at least 3 rows of planted trees per AZ 190006, and mitigation of light spillage and visibility to this development from adjacent residential properties be addressed prior to the final decision by the Board of Commissioners. The Planning Commission conditions have been displayed. They are the only version we have to display tonight. The public hearing was held on April 23rd. The proposed use is in conformity with the comprehensive plan. Staff is supportive.
Thank you. So a couple of things here. We do have this same project coming to us again in, is it June or July? Because
Yes,
there's
the
an
property
AZ.
has an application submitted for a zoning condition amendment, AZ 190006. It has not been scheduled for a BOC meeting at this time. It's very close to being scheduled, but not yet.
Okay, thank you. The conditions that are attached to this application were the product of significant work that was done with the community to come to some agreement on this. And it is my understanding now that due to the changes that we've made to our code, that the conditional use permit is no longer required for this type of facility, and that this was for the 24-hour use, correct? And so what I would like to do is to ensure that all of the conditions that were worked out with relation to this conditional use permit do travel on to the related application for a zoning condition amendment, AZ 190006. So what is the best way to accomplish that, Ken, or Tom, or both?
I'll start and see what Mr. Gerard can add to it. We have recently discussed with the board, it was in the last 6 weeks, that we're no longer going to require the conditional use permit for round-the-clock operations for medical-related facilities when it's very clear that the facility could not operate in any other manner. That decision was made after this item was put on your agenda.
Right.
So I'm in agreement, they no longer need the cup. Where I want us to be cautious is, with this cup, they've also requested a variance, which we've advertised and taken through the public hearing process. So my opinion is approving a cup isn't going to hurt it. I'm only, at a staff level, I'm saying they don't need one, but having one is not going to hurt them. And then you'll have all the conditions and the variance if it's your desire to approve that variance.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I had been in contact with their counsel as well and anticipated that we would be punting on this and just letting everything move on to the zoning condition amendment process. But I want to make sure that all of the good work that was done gets captured, and that variance is something that we would be able to include in that too. But I don't know whether that would be a significant enough change to push us back.
Well, Madam Chair, do we still, irrespective of the cup, so let's put that aside, because I agree with Mr. Brown. Approve it tonight, that's fine, it's unnecessary. The only difference, of course, is if you approve it, then the cup travels with the land. If we do nothing, it's just an administrative determination. It doesn't have quite as much teeth. But having said that, if you still need the variance, and Mr. Brown, is that correct? The applicant still wants this variance?
Well, I haven't heard anything from them that they don't. So, and it's fairly significant on the number of loading docks. I can only imagine they do.
So, Madam Chair, given the way that we handle variances any longer, I would recommend going ahead and approving the variance with the conditions nonetheless.
If that's our desire.
If of course, that's the desire of the board, Madam Chair. It goes without saying.
Right. So I just wanted to be assured that in that this is technically no longer required, but they applied before, and now it's that it still has teeth, that it still has, it still does what it needs to do.
And when we have situations like that, we typically break toward the developer or the landowner. That's just the way the rules work. They get the benefit of every favorable accommodation. So in this case, if we have now arrived at an administrative determination that they don't need a cup, that's fine. They get the benefit of that. But if they still need a variance, you still have the ability to condition that variance approval.
Madam Chairman, one other thought I had, if leading up to this, I know my staff sent a very similar message to the applicant saying you no longer need the cup.
Right, and they reached out to me because of that, so.
If in leading up to the meeting we said, well, you don't need to come here because we're not going to approve this, my only concern is that if he has some conditions he planned to negotiate with you, and if they're not going to start doing anything on this project until the AZ is approved anyways, you might want to put this off.
I think that would be fair, and I think what I'd like to do is maybe move this to old business and have it, do you have a date yet of when that AZ will be coming to us?
Not yet. Their application is close but not finished, so we haven't yet submitted the legal ad.
Want to take a stab at it? And then I can punt again if I need to. Would 30 days be appropriate, or 60 days to your mind, or? Because the AZ will come straight to us, not through the Planning Commission.
30, definitely not 60. I'd be worried we might miss it.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to mess anything up. In that case, I'd like to go ahead and postpone our decision on this item for the whatever meeting comes approximately 30 days from today, which puts
June 20th.
June 20th.
20th. So we'll move this to old business on June the 20th, and I will make sure to communicate with
Is that your motion?
That is my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Thank you. All right. Number 2, Ken Gerard.
Madam Chair, board members, this is my item. This is a proposed modification to the county's local law. In this case, it is that, actually, it's the local law establishing the Forsyth County Civil Service System. I sent you a magnum opus on our civil service rules. If any of you waded through it, that's great. I hope it put most of you to sleep. But interestingly, our civil service rules are a product of the Georgia Constitution back when they used to do local Georgia constitutional amendments. And then the General Assembly subsequently took advantage of that constitutional amendment and actually put in place our civil service system. However, under the Georgia Constitution, counties have the ability, following a fairly strict set of protocols, to modify that local law. And we have done that a handful of times, not only in this context, but in other contexts. But with respect to this, we are following that rule. I've got the constitutional provision here out in front of me. We are running legal ads even as we speak. This is not a public hearing, which is curious, but it's not. That's not the way it works. But you have to publish legal ads, and you have to publish them in the paper 3 consecutive weeks within a time period that is 60 days prior to the final adoption of the law. What has to happen also is if you get comfortable with the amendment, you have to adopt it twice. So tonight is actually the first opportunity to adopt this, and that does not make it final. In fact, it will not be final until it is adopted again at the June regular meeting. So with that sort of procedural background out of the way, what you've got, if you open up your agenda book, I want to walk you through a couple of things just to make sure I'm completely transparent on what is going on here. Because if you read my magnum opus, what you will read is that this has been tweaked a variety of times. And I actually, to my shame, walked you back to 1978 and walked you all the way back through the last amendment, which was through 2016. The main reason I walked you back that far is because, first of all, I wanted to give you a sense of the various iterations of this law since its inception. But I also wanted to focus you on the 3 last revisions. The 3 last revisions are the 2011 revision, the 2012 revision, and the 2016 revision. And the reason those are important is because in 2012, we actually added some language to this Section 2 that we are talking about. Section 2 of our Forsyth County Civil Service local laws is important because it's the section that captures the scope of who is underneath civil service. And so that has been tweaked a variety of times. In fact, there's some interesting stories about it being tweaked in the late 90s. But nonetheless, in 2012, we tweaked it to take out, in other words, to take out of the scope of civil service. To do that, you added positions in, and we added positions in that were exempted, applicable to the juvenile court, the superior court, the state court, the solicitor's office, and the DA's office. We did that, I believe, for a variety of reasons. One, I think, is to simply make clear those entities were not under civil service, but secondly, to also recognize the division. They're part of the judiciary or the prosecutorial branches of government and not under the administrative branch of government. So I think that's fine. I don't even know that it's necessary, but it's in there, and that's fine. Here comes the General Assembly in 2016, and this was at the request of our clerk of court, and did another modification of Section 2, and it was to exempt some employees in the clerk of court's office. And they didn't put in all of those exemptions involving juvenile court, etc. So if you look in this paragraph, you're going to see, hopefully you'll see a red underline that says wage earners. I hope you see that. And then immediately under there, you should see some red language that says members of the Forsyth County Juvenile Court, etc. That's me adding that back in, and I'm adding that back in because that's what this board did in 2012, and I am not convinced that when the General Assembly tweaked it again in 2016, they were sending you a signal to keep those in there. I think probably what happened was that whoever at the Office of General Counsel, the Legislative Counsel, pulled the old version. They didn't capture our version because it was done by local ordinance as opposed to legislative enactment. I hope that makes sense. I think they missed it. They wouldn't have waited 4 years to correct it if it was a big problem. So I've added that back in. The nuts and bolts of what we're doing is the big swath of red at the end of the paragraph. You may remember we've had some work sessions on this. We put up 3 different versions of how we wanted to do this, and you all settled for what I call the intermediate version. What you're doing then is you are exempting from civil service that laundry list of director positions that starts with the county manager, deputy county manager, assistant county manager, chief financial officer. I'm not going to read them all, but that's what we would be explicitly removing from civil service protection. And then we said at the end, and also those for South County employees who are the head of a department or division of the county. And then I added this additional language to make absolutely clear what I think is your intention. But if the employee occupying the department or division head is under civil service as of the effective date of this amendment, then that department or division head position will not become exempt until attrition results in that position becoming filled by a new different employee. The point being is if you've got an individual that is not in one of those enumerated positions above, the expressly called out positions, but is just another department head in the county, they will become exempt from civil service only when attrition has a new person going into that position. And I think that is where you all landed the last time we talked about this. The only other thing I want to mention to you is I want to go back to that where you see hourly wage earners struck up there. That was something that as Pat Carson and Charity Clark and I were discussing this back and forth, I think it may have been Charity that noted it and said, why is hourly wage earners, why are they exempt from civil service? That has never been the expectation, that has never been the intention, and I agree. It makes sense. That is probably a holdover. I don't know. That may have been in the original version of the act for all we know. But that's not the intention, so we want to strike that to ensure that hourly workers are, in fact, under civil service. So, Madam Chair, that's my presentation. I wanted to walk you exactly through what we're doing and why, and to reinforce to the board that this will have to be approved twice. Tonight's the first time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, and that jibes with my recollection of the direction that we gave last time. Are there any questions or comments from any members of the board? Thank you. Would anyone like to offer a motion, and understanding that whichever way this goes this evening, this will be if it passes, it will not be in place until we vote on it one more time.
That's correct.
Do you want us to include any language with respect to red lines, or just as presented?
Right. Madam Chair, thank you for that. If the board is inclined, the motion would need to say to approve the resolution and ordinance amending the civil service law as presented in your agenda book.
Thank you. Would anyone like to offer a motion? I'll do so. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the changes to our language as presented, including everything that Ken just said. How's that? We have a motion, a second, please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 4-1, but we will be seeing it again. And what will be the date of that next?
Right, Madam Chair, this will be back in front of you for final action on June the 6th.
Thank you. Final action, June 6th. All right. And moving on to number 3. Ken.
Madam Chair, I'm happy to do the introduction on this because this is more of a procedural introduction than a substantive legal introduction. This is simply the product of the fact that the memorandum of understanding, you may recall it had been on the consent agenda. It got taken off the consent agenda. We debated it further. I believe it got moved to a work session. We approved it at a work session, but because it was not unanimous, it does not go back on consent. It comes to an actual new business or old business item. So this is basically the same MOU that you all have voted on before, that was voted on again, and just pursuant to our procedural rules, it comes back in front of you, not on a consent agenda, but on an actual, what I call the debate agenda, where you actually can debate. Madam Chair, that's it.
Thank you for that procedural information. Would anyone like to have any further discussion on this item before I call for a vote? Commissioner Cooper?
Thank you. The only thing that I have on this is I do stand by the fact that we need to have measurable performance standards whenever the taxpayers' money is spent and given to a private organization, and the Chamber of Commerce is a private organization. It's nothing against that organization specifically at all. It is simply the fact that taxpayer money, the allocation of taxpayer money, there needs to be performance standards measured to validate, period.
Thank you. And I do agree with that statement. Are there any further questions or comments? Would anyone like to offer a motion? I'll do so then. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Economic Development Funding MOU with the Chamber of Commerce.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Commissioner Levent, thank you. And that motion does carry with a vote of 4 to 1. Thank you. And number 4.
Madam Chair, board members, this last item this evening is a proposed settlement agreement between Forsyth County and C.W. Matthews related to 2 ongoing capital works projects, both the Sharon Road project and the Union Hill project. Both of those are the subjects of additional contracts for work that we have with C.W. Matthews. I don't have to tell the board, but for some time now we have had some disputes with respect to C.W. Matthews. They have made various claims under their contracts on both roads related primarily on Union Hill to time, but other issues as well. The county has taken a fairly strong stance that we do not agree with their claims and demands with respect to time, but we are also hoping to achieve a settlement with respect to their demands and claims under the contract for time as a means of incentivizing the expediting of the Sharon Road project, which is very important, I think, but not only to the board, to the district commissioner, but also to the citizens that have to travel in that area. And so we have attempted to, as best we can, leverage this issue to achieve both fairness, equity, and a accelerated time frame on Sharon to include literally modifying the construction path and allowances on Sharon to get that project done. So that is what is happening here. Madam Chair, with respect to the agreement itself, it provides that Forsyth County is going to tender to C.W. Matthews with respect to both projects $400,000. Both projects, Union Hill and Sharon, will be completed and open for travel to the motoring public by August 31st of 2019. This does not mean that punch list items have to be completed, but it does mean that all lanes have to be open to the motoring public. This has, in fact, resulted in C.W. Matthews asking for a 7-day work week, which we have granted, and it also has meant they have asked for extended work hours, which we have granted. This agreement also requires that they utilize best practices with respect to ensuring the safety of individuals of the motoring public, particularly at night. Liquidated damages with respect to both projects would commence on September 1st at $500 per project per day, and both parties would then release all of our respective claims against one another related not only to the various disputes that have got us here, but to any disputes related to these 2 projects up through and including the date of this agreement. And the date of this agreement will be the date that C.W. Matthews signs it. I want to mention that to you because I want to mention that since we have been attempting to resolve this, even including tonight, 2 additional issues have come up. One is on Union Hill. C.W. Matthews has written us additional correspondence saying we want confirmation that you have rechecked with all the utility providers. We're still finding conflicts with AT&T. We're still finding conflicts with Sony EMC. And then on Sharon, C.W. Matthews actually hit some of our water infrastructure, and that issue is outstanding. The reason I raise those to you is not to bog us down in minutia. The reason I raise them to you is because if we approve this agreement and C.W. Matthews approves this agreement, I want you to think of it as a clean start. Those claims will be gone. Any claims we might have for our water infrastructure will be gone. Any claims they've made about delays occasioned by AT&T and Sony EMC, they'll be gone too, because as with most settlement agreements, it sort of clears the decks for the parties up through and including the date you sign it. Now, going forward, any further claims will be fair game, but up until today, those will be gone. So I want to reference that, make that clear to the board. I don't think the claims are substantial that I'm aware of, but I do think that I want to at least say it out loud as a means of introducing this item.
Just to clarify that when they hit the water over on Sharon Road, which I did drive by, it was a pretty impressive little lake that was starting there. That repair work has been done to our infrastructure to the county's satisfaction and at their cost.
Mr. Perkins is nodding his head, so I'm assuming that's yes.
Thank you. Just wanted to verify that.
I think we fixed it. We got there quick. There wasn't any, they didn't repair it, but it wasn't a huge expense.
It was a muddy little lake. I saw it.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Are there any questions from the board as to what we're attempting to do with this agreement? Is there a motion?
I move we approve the settlement agreement with C.W. Matthews Contracting Company, Inc., as discussed and presented by council.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0. Let's get going. August 31st, y'all. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. I know Terry drives that road a lot. Item number 5 was removed from consent letter, I think it was 1-0 or something O, and regarding a county-initiated zoning in D1 for Sutter.
That's it, Madam Chair, and again, Commissioner Cooper, this was not at all an attempt to throw you a curveball at all. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that before we revved up the machinery of a county-initiated rezoning. There was an email, I think, from planning that indicated that they had come in for permits. You may want to think about that a little bit and see what that means before you take this altogether off the equation, but it might be helpful to learn a little bit more if they are truly coming forward and ready to move forward, because I know that was a concern of this thing languishing, so I will defer to you. But if you wanted to say, let's take this item and let's postpone it to the next regular meeting, we could certainly do that.
Okay, on this, as you and I discussed, my intent was that we clean up these old things that are just lingering out there, these old zonings and these old, the LDPs that haven't been pulled, and to try to get, like I said, just get things cleaned up. And also to give the owner of the property ample opportunity to come in and pull the LDP. And since this person has now come in and you said is requested for the permit, is that right? If you would...
That's right. So the email indicated they had come in. I am not exactly sure the sort of permit it was. I'm assuming it was some sort of a land disturbance permit. I don't know. I don't think it was a building permit, was it?
Actually was a building permit.
It was just a building permit?
This was a zoning to agricultural for an equestrian use. So in this case, it was a building permit and the associated land disturbance that went with that permit that satisfied the requirement.
There you go.
Okay, then, if you would word it for me from what it was that from what you had said, if you would just repeat that for me, that would be fantastic.
Commissioner Cooper, so what we could do then is if you just want to, in other words, if you're interested but want to learn a little bit more about it, I might recommend that this be moved to the June 6th old business agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that item moves to old business on June 6th. The big question, Counselor, is there a need for executive session?
Commissioner, there was, but there's not now. And so anything that I was going to bring to your attention, and I do have some things to bring to your attention, I will do that on Tuesday, which is when I know everyone thinks that's a better time.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Please vote. And we are adjourned at 7:01 p.m.
This is TV Forsyth, your county connection.